The observatory apologizes for issuing the standby signal number 1 some 2 hours earlier than planned. The White House says the Trump-Kim summit tentatively set for next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Singapore time. And the death toll from Guatemala's volcanic eruption goes up to almost 70.
Hello, good evening. The standby signal number 1 is now in force. There was chaos when the observatory issued this year's first tropical cyclone warning signal this morning. Pinky Wong reports.
In sharp contrast to the sunny days last week, the weather turned gloomy today. The observatory said squally showers and thunderstorms are expected in the next few days. That's due to the tropical depression located to the southwest of Hong Kong. It's forecast to move north towards the vicinity of Hainan Island. Those who downloaded the observatory's mobile app were alerted to a standby signal number 1 issued at 9:25 this morning. The standby signal number 1 symbol was also shown on the observatory's official website. But the website was later updated, stating that the number 1 signal would be enforced at 11:20 a.m.
There was a hiccup with the announcement of typhoon signal number 1, and I'd like to apologize to the public on behalf of the Hong Kong Observatory. In fact, there was a typographical error in the process. It has been very rare that this happened in our system.
While this movement said the observatory should have been more careful, others didn't seem to mind. Even the chief executive will get things wrong, so be understanding, he said. Asked whether the staff concerned will be punished for the incident, the observatory declined to comment on internal matters. It has, however, pledged to enhance its checking system and staff training to avoid mishaps of this kind in future. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
In nearby Macau, authorities also issued the number 1 typhoon signal at 10:45 this morning, but said the possibility of issuing higher signals today is low. Occasional showers and thunderstorms are expected today and tomorrow. The enclave was hit hard by severe Typhoon Hato last August, which claimed at least 8 lives and left thousands of households without power. For months, home prices have hit record highs. Against that backdrop, the chief executive stressed the urgency in seeking land for housing and called on concerned groups not to shift attention away from the issue. Sky-high property prices are worrying not just home buyers, but also the chief executive.
We are extremely concerned about the surging property prices in Hong Kong. The ultimate solution lies in finding more land to build more housing units, either for sale or for rental to people of Hong Kong. And my administration will exhaust every measure in order to achieve that objective.
With a public consultation now underway on land supply options, Carrie Lam called on concerned groups not to shift people's attention away from that topic by opposing land sourcing methods or immigration policies. She spoke of reviewing the pricing policy for home ownership scheme flats, which are currently sold at 30% below the market value. But will public housing units be built above MTR stations, as some reports suggested?
Using some of the topside developments of the mass transit railway stations for building public housing, whether it is for sale or for rental. This is only a speculative report.
Speaking of thousands of completed first-hand flats that have been left idle for years, Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, James Lau, said the government will study introducing a vacancy tax. Then developers are expected to roll out these flats as soon as possible. On another topic, Carrie Lam said she takes the monitoring of MTR construction works very seriously. Still, she said it's too premature to comment further on botched works at Hong Kong Station. This morning, the Rail Operators Board of Directors held a special meeting to discuss the Sha Tin to Central link. particularly the works at the Hong Kong station, which is being expanded to cater to the new rail network. There, a number of steel bars supporting 2 platform levels were found to have been snapped short. However, the train company's chairman revealed little ahead of a deadline to submit an incident report to the Highways Department.
The MTR Board of Directors had a special meeting this morning, which lasts for almost 2.5 hours. We specifically discussed the SCL incident as widely reported by the media. We take this matter seriously and will be holding a press conference tomorrow to explain a lot of issues.
Elsewhere, preparations for a summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un are said to be going well. The White House says the 2 leaders are tentatively scheduled to meet on June 12th at 9 a.m. Singapore time. The announcement of the timing for the meeting came just 3 days after Trump hosted a senior North Korean delegation at the White House, bearing a letter from Kim. Trump had earlier canceled the summit, then abruptly announced the meeting was back on. As for the contents of that letter, aides aren't talking specifics.
But as the president said, they were interesting, and we feel like things are continuing to move forward and good progress has been made. But I can tell you the president has been receiving daily briefings on North Korea from his national security team.
Meanwhile, Washington's maximum pressure campaign against North Korea continues.
Our policy hasn't changed, and as the president stated, we have sanctions on. They're very powerful, and we would not take those sanctions off unless North Korea denuclearized.
The exact venue for the historic meeting has yet to be confirmed, although a special events zone has been declared, including Singapore's foreign ministry, the U.S. Embassy, and several hotels. The tiny city-state is shaping up to be a diplomatic hub, as it projects itself as the region's answer to Switzerland. Analysts say geography and good ties to countries both east and west made Singapore a logical choice for the summit.
So Singapore is in range, isn't a key participant in the Korean Peninsula. Singapore is a very safe place to hold these things. Singapore has held many high-level diplomatic events before and summits with no problems at all.
Singapore has also unveiled a commemorative medallion for the event with the inscription World Peace. The other side depicts a handshake in front of both nations' flags and the June 12th event date. The souvenir comes in 3 variations, with the gold version selling for more than $1,000 US. U.S. officials say the United States is considering sending a warship through the Taiwan Strait. It comes at a time when Sino-U.S. ties are under pressure from a trade dispute and the North Korea nuclear issue. It would follow a series of Chinese military drills around Taiwan and would be seen as U.S. support for the island. The move provoked a strong reaction from the foreign ministry in Beijing, which said Washington should properly handle the Taiwan issue to avoid harming two-way ties.
A bus carrying Chinese tourists has veered off a busy highway in Ontario, Canada. 24 people have been rushed to hospital, 4 with life-threatening injuries. Police say 37 people were on board, including the driver and a tour guide, when the bus went off the road. The crash happened south of the Canadian capital, Ottawa. The bus is operated by a US-based tour company. There's no word on the cause of the crash.
Another eruption has sent villagers near a Guatemala volcano running in panic. The Fuego volcano began erupting on Sunday after being dormant for more than 4 decades. The blast caught residents of remote mountain villages off guard, with little or no time to flee to safety. Searing flows of lava, ash, and rock mixed with water and debris gushed down the sides of the volcano, blocking roads and burning homes. President Jimmy Morales has traveled to the disaster area to survey the damage. Authorities put the death toll at 69 and have issued evacuation orders. Rescuers who are struggling with hot, toxic gases and smoke say some of the bodies look like statues, and many can't be identified.
And still ahead tonight. 2 lawmakers pushing for a modern slavery law to combat human trafficking.
每個細心都盛載你對家人嘅一份大心意。維達為你細心研創 4D 立體壓花科技，強韌多啲，吸力強啲，觸感舒適啲。維達 4D Deluxe 立體壓花。
Welcome back to TVB News. Some legislators are pushing the government to enact a modern slavery law to combat human trafficking, among other gaping holes in local laws. But the government doesn't seem to agree there's a need for that. Winna Wong tells us more.
It's time to plug the holes in Hong Kong's modern slavery laws. This is according to lawmakers Dennis Kwok and Kenneth Leung, who proposed discussing the modern slavery bill during a security panel meeting at the Legislative Council.
As we see, there is a gaping hole in laws in relation to human trafficking crimes in Hong Kong. There are many forms of human trafficking and modern slavery crimes that are not covered under our existing legislation.
Kwok points out international agencies like the United Nations have named Hong Kong a common transit point for human trafficking. The city also remains on the United States Tier 2 watch list in the country's annual human trafficking report, but the government seems to believe existing laws are enough.
There may be other reports by entities elsewhere in the world. We pay attention to that, but we don't agree with many of them.
We take measures not because another country sets the requirements or comes up with definitions. It is just that the SAR government, looking at the issue from the overall benefit for Hong Kong, we have a series of measures and laws to tackle this.
Today's bill is drafted by Kwok, human rights lawyer Patricia Ho, and barrister Azan Marwa, who say the city's failure to keep up with the times make it almost impossible for law enforcement agencies to do their job.
The hands of law enforcement are often tied because they feel compelled to use out-of-date, ill-fitting offenses designed for other purposes. They may find it difficult also to understand the archaic language because often they're using laws which were drafted more than 150 years ago.
They say issues like forced labor, forced marriage, and sex tourism are all issues that have yet to be tackled. Winna Wong, TVB News.
More Japanese fruits and vegetables may end up in local markets if the government is to loosen food import restrictions on 4 Japanese prefectures. The government is now considering lifting bans on food imports from Ibaraki, Tochigi, Chiba, and Gunma prefectures as long as relevant certifications are supplied. Produce from these places in the last 2 years were entirely radiation-free, but restrictions on agricultural products from Fukushima remains. Fukushima was hit hard in the 2011 nuclear disaster. LegCo's panel on food safety and environmental hygiene will discuss the proposal next Tuesday.
The wife of former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has been questioned by investigators over alleged theft and money laundering involving a state investment fund. Rasma Mansour was escorted into an anti-corruption agency office today, nearly 2 weeks after her husband was questioned twice by the same agency. And the scandal helped lead to Najib's ouster in the May 9th national elections. The 1MDB fund was set up by Najib in 2009. Investigators say billions of dollars was stolen, some of which landed in Najib's bank account. Some of that money was allegedly used to buy a rare diamond necklace for Rasma. 2 lawyers have withdrawn from representing the couple. Najib, who denies any wrongdoing, could soon face criminal charges.
And now to a highly controversial decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. It handed a victory to a baker in Colorado who refused to make a wedding cake for a gay couple. Jack Phillips argued that making a cake for a same-sex couple would violate his Christian beliefs. The couple sued, and Colorado State said Phillips had violated the law that bans discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. But in a 7-2 vote, the Supreme Court says Phillips win because Colorado did not take Phillips's religious claims seriously enough. However, the ruling said nothing about whether any other businesses can use religious freedom to refuse service to gay couples. The two men who were refused service vowed to keep fighting. And that's the news.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.